Are you ready to see what lies beneath the ever-thinning veil of the unknown? Book your craft now for the Crossing Realms Conference September 19th and 20th in Richmond, Missouri.
This is the future.
This unprecedented experience allows you to not only hear and interact with a cornucopia of highly respected researchers, scientists, and experiencers, it will shape the very foundations of your reality. You will lay witness to some of the best evidence collected in decades.
This is the future.
Be a part of history in the making. Get your tickets now at eventbrite.com. The Crossing Realms Conference, where the paranormal becomes normal.
For years, in the quiet woods of Michigan, a man lived a rather ordinary life. A life filled with family, friends, work, the day-to-day things you and I both know so well. But there was something else. Something he couldn't quite forget. You see, this man had seen something. Not in a movie, not in a dream, but with his own eyes. Something tall, something massive, something covered in hair. Is something that, if he told most people, would earn him laughter instead of belief. So he kept it quiet for a while. But that sighting, that sound, those moments when he knew he wasn't alone in the Michigan woods, they stayed with him. They nagged at him. Until one day he decided silence wasn't enough. Instead of hiding it away, he turned on a camera, he opened a microphone, and he began to talk. First a little, then a lot, about Bigfoot, about cryptids, about the paranormal, and about anyone else out there who had seen what the rest of the world said wasn't real. And do you know what happened? People listened. They listened because they too had stories. Stories of ghosts in their homes, lights in their skies, creatures in their backyards. People who were laughed at too, but with him, they weren't laughed at anymore. He became something else. A host, an interviewer, a storyteller. Now, he wasn't just a man who once saw a giant in the trees. 3 live shows a week. A podcast, brunch with Bigfoot, and hundreds of videos, thousands of listeners. Thousands who no longer felt so alone. And when the lights go on in his Michigan studio, when the camera shines, another guest calls in from another corner of the world, he's no longer just a witness. He is the voice for all those who whisper, "I've seen it too." So today, when you hear a man from Michigan speaking boldly about Bigfoot, about UFOs, about ghosts, about mysteries the world isn't ready to explain, you remember that it all began not with fame, not with microphones, not with an audience, but with one man standing quietly in the woods, looking at something the world says doesn't exist. And now you know the beginning of the story. It belongs to a man known as Bigfoot Michigan Rob.
Hello, one and all, and welcome to Beyond BMR. The opening stanza was a little lengthy with the advertisement for our conference. That cool little, I hope you guys liked that. That was sent to me and a couple weeks ago, which is awesome. telling the little story, then blasted all this out. So I get a kick out of that. Hope you guys did as well. We had a great show. We're not going to waste any more of your time. William Lunsford, who will be at our conference coming up in 2 weeks, you guys, he's joining us. He's backstage. The lovely Krista's backstage. I'm going to bring her up right now. Don't forget to please subscribe to Bigfoot Michigan Rob on YouTube, the Blondie and the Booze Paranormal Podcast on YouTube, Texas Front Porch, Donnie Show, That's Stuff, Paranormal Paul. Who else? A few others.
Yeah.
Monica Rollins.
Monica.
And Donnie Cho says stuff, I said. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're all the part of the Misfits. The Misfits.
Truth and Tinfoil.
Truth or Tinfoil. Yes, a whole host of us.
Yeah, a whole bunch of us.
Don't forget the Super Chat's open. A great way to support what we all do around here. Keith, I will be getting with you a little later. Probably tomorrow I'll call you and we'll set that up. Thank you so much. Thanks everybody for coming on and hit that like button. You can become BMR Priors tonight. Our mateys. Join the many, join the few, depending on your point of view. Love each and every single one of you for coming. Yeah. And again, we do have a great show. Before I bring up our great guest, Will, what's happening, Krista, after I got all that out?
A lot. You guys all have to go watch Paul's show.
Yes, watch Paul's show.
But it's all good now. We're good.
Everything's good. Everything's real ready to roll. That was you laid that out perfectly.
Yeah, I had a meltdown last night.
You did. It's all taken care of. It's
all taken care of. It's all good. So we're good. We're back on. Yeah, we're good.
We are good to go. So thanks with that. I'm not going to waste any more time again. 7 minutes into it, I'm going to bring up my fantastic guest, Mr. Lunsford,
who is one of our favorite people.
One of our favorite people in the world. This is about the 5th or 6th time, probably more.
He's been on this show more than that because he's been on my show more than that.
He's been on our shows collectively, I would say 12, 15 times.
Every bit of it, if not more.
Every bit of it's worthwhile, very entertaining, very informative.
Yep.
And if there's a guy out there that I trust, it's William Lunsford.
Yep.
Hello, William.
Hey, man, this stupid lock is still on this screen, but I'm still here.
Well, you're here. We can hear you. You look very dapper.
I appreciate that, man. I tell you what, I'm feeling pretty dapper right now. I apologize for this, but this was working this afternoon with no troubles. And I don't know who put the lock on there, but anyway, we're good. If we can still keep going with the show, I'm happy.
We can.
We can hear you fine.
We can hear you fine. It's perfect sound. We just don't see your beautiful face, but hey.
Well, that's going to be in addition to y'all's show. There's going to be a lot more people watching next week. So if we can get rid of that ugly sucker, we'll all be okay.
Well, you know what? Speaking of next week, I sure am looking forward to seeing you again.
Well, I am too. I have been looking forward to this since we first discussed it. And man, it's just I get so doggone excited, and to get up here and get to visit with y'all. Y'all always does such a good job, just like what you just laid out right there. And it's hard as a researcher not to get excited about this. So
yeah. Is Cindy coming with you?
Yes, she is actually.
Yay!
She's going to be there with me. So she went with me this past weekend. We went to Arkansas, had a conference there in just outside of Conway, a place called Valonia. And so she surprised herself with what a good time she had. So
good. Well, we will make sure she has a good time with us.
Well, good. I know y'all will. I appreciate it.
You have a great wife, and so she'll fit right in. She fits right in with us.
Well, I'm gonna betray my own kind and tell you, we men marry up. That's a natural fact. Where we get a good wife, we're actually.
You definitely have a great wife. You do.
Man, she helps me with my book. She helped me doing this stuff right here. So again,
it looks like you were making some progress. I see that you went to the voice thing and then switched that. So I can tell you're playing with that. But we can hear you. And again, Will, I really, we've talked. We've been friends for several years now, and one of my I'm really looking. Of all the people I'm going to meet, there's been many. I'm appreciative to meet all of them. Can't wait to meet you, man, for the first time. Shake your hand and sit down and talk some Bigfoot or whatever we discussed.
Well, that's going to be. We need to get down there where me and Krista and Brandy and Stephen all went down there, where the Bigfoot contribute their 2 cents worth too. So
that was a crazy night, Will.
That's one of the greatest nights that we've ever had. But that's the way it is around here. Arkansas is just so enumerated with Bigfoot.
It's one of the states I think that is underestimated. Everybody says, the Pacific Northwest but honestly, Arkansas is one of the few that's underestimated, I think, with Bigfoot and Dogman and all the critter activity.
It really is. Like I said, the Pacific Northwest certainly deserves the accolades that it gets. It's got a long and storied history, going all the way back, to where Osman, was abducted, and then too with the Ape Canyon and all those things. But Arkansas, like I said, Arkansas has got some quite a few Bigfoot. Arkansas also has their own Loch Ness monster called Whitey, the White River Monster, and then it's got just all kinds of things that we could name, and so it's got its own diamond mine, natural diamond mine, and then so there's a lot of things that it's got. We got a lot of acres. Just as many acres going up into the air and the mountains as what we have here on the flatland. So
absolutely.
Again, it's a good place to live if you want to be a Bigfoot researcher. We got the we're the home of the Fouke monster, and our good friend Keith.
Yeah.
And so the
How's
Fouke
Keith
monster.
Doing? How's Keith doing?
Keith is doing good. He was supposed to go with us this weekend up there to Conway, but had some other things come up. But Keith is doing really good, and he's got on there on Caddo Lake now. So not only has he got ties to the Fouke monster, but he's also got ties to the what's called the Caddo critter, the Caddo creature there. So he's doing well. I'll tell him that y'all ask, because he's a hoot. You can always tell where Keith is by looking at where where all the people are gathered together, and you can guarantee he's going to be entertaining somebody.
Oh yeah, I got selfies with Keith.
He's a good guy. He hasn't let all that go to his head. He is, along with the monster in Fouke being called the Legend of Boggy Creek. Keith is also called the Legend of Boggy Creek, and that's for a reason. When they put that show out, a lot of people don't realize Keith was actually driving the car whenever it goes down there and it's going down the dirt road. Keith is bringing food to some of the people. He's sitting there. He's in the group of people that are hunting with the hunting dogs and things like that. And he just really, really made the show. He's that kind of guy. He volunteers his time as far as who it is, and so very, very fortunate to count him as one of my friends and one of my research partners. So that's real good. I've got a little bit about him included there in my new book there. But like I said, any book would just be a stack of pages without something being said about him.
Yeah, he's a great guy. Great guy.
Yeah. Will has written 2 books. We'll talk about that a little bit during the show. A brand new one just came out. We've talked about his first one several times. And, Will, there's a lot of, every time you come back on the show, it seems like all of us, myself, Krista, Tex, our shows are getting bigger. And Krista and I know your background, your backstory, but a lot of people that are new do not. How did you first really get involved with first of all, with Bigfoot in general? Down where you live, man.
Well, I tell you what, when I was a kid, we lived on a road called South State Line. South State Line is a gravel road that drives down there. It's actually the state line between Texas and Arkansas. It goes all the way down to where Sulphur River is. And so there was a boat ramp down there. And so when we lived down there, my dad was an amateur boat maker. And so we were down there one day, and as we're getting the rods out of the windows that are stuck through there and then trying to get the boat off the top of the roof of my mom's car, I looked down there on a sandbar there, and I saw these 2 little short beings there, and I said, Dad, are those monkeys down there on that sandbar? And he looks up there, he goes, yeah. He said, and there's Mama up there on the hill. I didn't get to catch Mama, but nevertheless, I did see those babies. And the way that he said it, it was a matter of fact thing, like, oh, I'm not surprised. It's something here that he was familiar with. And I didn't know if he did not want to scare me or tell me what it was. But anyway, so that's kind of was it. And then, like I said, 1977, after he had passed away in 72, and I was a senior in high school, and some of the places he had showed me to fish, I was down there by myself one day. And I happened to walk up on something that I never even gave it hardly another thought. Did it really exist? Until I walked up on him down there. And so we were having a face-to-face, eye-to-eye, 40 to 45 yard away meeting. And he was sitting there looking at me. Walked out there and started rocking from side to side. And I'm sitting there trying to read his mind. I know he's reading my mind, but it was very, very scary. And so I made it out of there, thank goodness. And I thought, well, golly, man, I never even truly gave it a thought that these things existed. And then 8 years later, then I had another sighting down there, right there on a place called Mercer Bayou on the boat ramp. And by then I was already married to Cindy, and had my nephew with me, and we had seen a bunch of catfish heads that were dumped out there. So when we got back that night, right about 30 minutes after dark, you could still have enough twilight to be able to see stuff, but we couldn't really see as much as to where he was until he screamed. And when you could hear him scream,
Wow.
he got up and took off running back down into the woods right there. And man, I told my nephew, who was 8 years old, I said, "Get in the truck." He goes, "What was it?" I said, "Get in the truck." And so we went through that for a minute or two, like you always do with kids. But he got in the truck. I drove a little bit over a mile to go put my boat on the trailer. I got him in there and got him out of there. And so after that, I realized, hey, if they're going to be here, I'm going to learn something about them because I'm going to have something to do with it. I'm going to have something to do with the sightings as far as for understanding what they do and a way maybe to keep our own selves safe. And so I know about now, see, that was 1985. I probably have met 10 or 12 different people who have actually seen the monster down there now. And they come up with the same story. Had a young lady last year, her husband was duck hunting down there, and they went to round a bend there in the bayou. And boy, whenever they did, that thing was standing right out in the middle of the bayou. He liked to wreck his boat getting turned the other way. He thought duck hunting wasn't near as important at that time as it was before he got there. So that, and two, I'm sure the creature, like I said, if it wasn't the same Fouke monster, it was a brand of the Fouke monster or of the monster species. So I started going down there, like I said, and man, you just never can tell if y'all been down there and you see how thick it is. Like I said, you go out in the woods at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, it's like 8 o'clock at night. You know, it's just so many shadows. Absolutely. And where we went down there, where that one, I think we all went down there where I had found that tree right there, where that Gugway ran up on me down there. You could just see how thick that was. So it's a place all its own. I tell people it's not like the land that time forgot. It's like the land that time never knew, because it's just so thick and so full of a lot of other things. We got, like I said, the Gugway there, and then we got Bigfoot, and then we got hogs, we got mountain lions, we've got bears, we've got everything that you could possibly not want to meet into the woods.
Alligators,
a lot of alligators.
A lot of alligators. Yes.
You know, Will, you mentioned Gugway. Now, I know that we've talked about this briefly on some shows, and for those people that don't know what a Gugway is, what do you think that is, and how scary was that to see that?
Boy,
that's what they call the face eater, correct?
Yeah, the face eater, the whistling bear. They tend to have 3 toes. They tend to have a very vicious disposition. I think Dogman gets a lot of the credit for some of the things that Gugway actually does there. You know, and then of course, like I said, we've gotten where we've seen a couple of Dogman here, or several Dogman the last few years, but I think that thing is just so doggone mean. I have a friend who's a Native American, and so after I saw the Gugway there, I called him. I said, "Man," I said, "tell me, what do you know about a Gugway?" He goes, "Oh, Will, don't tell me that you got them down there." I said, "Well," I said, "this is what he did." And he goes, "Man, don't." He said, "Do you know what that means?" I said, "No." He said, "He was fixing to eat you." He said, "He had a partner." He said, "Did he turn and look or anything, or lay his ears, back on his head?" I said, "Well, yeah, how'd you know?" He said, "Because that's what they do." And of course, he said, our people are familiar with them for years. So that was really scary.
Yeah.
When
you real quick, Will, when you come up here next week, will you make sure you bring that picture of that Gugway? Because I've talked about your picture.
I appreciate that.
And there's a few people that I'd like to see that picture.
Oh yeah.
And I hope that y'all, I heard y'all mention earlier about going on Vic Kunda's show and talking to Vic. Vic is a friend of mine as well. Vic has been very
Brandy and I are going on there tomorrow.
Well, good. I tell Vic, I said, hey, because he's, I was very surprised as he and I talked one night there, and he said, I actually have more people that are wanting to know about Dogman than they were about Bigfoot. And that's really surprising, because, Bigfoot is his, of course, I guess maybe since it's been around longer, everybody's kind of gotten bored with it, but you can't get bored with Bigfoot. Stand in front of one and see how bored you are,
Right.
People say, well, how come Rob, you share some dumb stories? And they said dumb. It was just some people leaving comments talking about a Bigfoot that crossed the road or ran through a campsite. How boring. And I'm like, okay, whoever you are, boring. Okay, let me paint the picture. You're camping. It's late at night. Something 7 foot tall, 1,200 pounds. It's not supposed to exist. Runs through your camp, knocks over your tent, all inadvertently as it's just scampering about. That I don't think that's boring.
There's nothing about it boring. Like I said, you don't know whether you're going to survive that encounter. You don't know if there's going to be an encounter. And that's the honest truth. All you know is that if he's in it, it's going to be like a wrestling match with Andre the Giant. We know who's going to win it. And so that's one of those things. Like I said, it's not boring. That's what I thought there. I wrote that in my book. One of the encounters I had there. I was trying to go every morning before work, and I was going to have to go to the same area. And I thought, well, man, I'm just getting bored doing this. And I gave myself a checkup from the neck up and said, how in the world do you get bored during a Bigfoot sighting?
To me, man, it's just impossible.
Yeah.
Bigfoot crossing the road is exciting for 2 seconds. To me, it is. I mean,
Well, you know what? Here's the thing, though. You know, it might be boring to somebody, but we need that information for
it's
research.
data, right?
It's all data, so it all matters. Whether it's an encounter like yours, Rob,
Yep.
or one just crossing the road, they all matter.
Yes, they do. It's all about the data. All
It
about the
is.
data. And let me ask you, Will, I find this more and more, though. A lot of stories that I get or people that come on the show that have experienced these things. Oftentimes, I find the majority of them aren't even researchers or not really even interested in the topic. It's always that person that's out camping or maybe driving through the country road to come across these. You find that to be more and more prevalent as well, with just
Yeah,
the
I do.
average Joe?
I do, and I'm gonna tell you, I think why, because I'm a big deer hunter, and you can go out there with the deer and have the deer out there in the field, and the sneakier you act, the deer are actually suspicious, so they'll but when you're out there just acting like there's nothing to it, then I think that they tend to themselves be at ease. That's the same way with Bigfoot. There, when you're out there and you're looking around and you're not presenting a natural action into the woods is what they would normally see. And a lot of people that I've talked to have seen Bigfoot. Some of them were out there plowing their land. Some of them were out there having a picnic with their family. Some of them were just driving down the road there and just happened to have that kind of sighting. I had one guy there. I had told him about it, and we were finding a bunch of turtles down there. And sure enough, as he was on his way on one of the roads from Arkansas to Louisiana, one of the back roads, he sees something running across the field there, kind of cutting across the woods. Well, he slows down. Wonder if he gets down there where he intersects this thing. This thing had a box turtle, an eastern box turtle in it, and reared back and just threw that turtle through his doggone windshield. I mean, that's not something that you encounter every day. Anything that
Sure.
be that. So it is. It was that just was really a good story because, like I said, me and Reese were finding. We found one place where there were probably 50 turtle shells there. Not a single hinge of a turtle shell, that opens up the thing was broken. And then we had probably 200 shells of a crawfish there that they call a blood pincher. That's the ones that are black and red, and they were all kind of stacked up there. And then so when you see all that stuff right there, and you're like, gosh, at first you're suspicious. You're like, this just happened naturally. Water came up and it flooded, and they all current deposited all here. Then all of a sudden you realize that's not what happened at all. So the Bigfoot is any kind of Bigfoot sighting is something right there. It's not something that is a normal. It happens a lot, and like I said, I'm not lying to you, and I've told, and y'all know this, man. When you have Bigfoot is a real being. There's no doubt about it. I don't know why in the world they don't go ahead and acknowledge that. If you look back on whenever they had the Mount St. Helens there, when those Bigfoot were coming down off the mountain, and they were wrapping them up with raincoats so that people would not recognize what they were. I guess trying to keep the public outcry or the public panic away there. But there's something special about it. When you see something that's sometimes over 10 foot tall and over 1,000 pounds, that's been alive this long and has not been classified. That's it. That's amazing. Look how long it took to classify the kraken.
Right.
And then the billy ape, that 6 foot quote chimpanzee unquote that actually sleeps up on top of trees and kills lions. And they have been rumored for a long time. The duck-billed platypus, we can just go through the line of creatures that ain't supposed to be there. But when you see one that's this big, this tall, and it should be something that would stick out in the woods like a sore thumb, you should be able to immediately look out there and just start counting heads, how many Bigfoot there are, but you can't because they're so good. They're the master of their element, of their environment. They know what they're doing. They know how to hide. They know what you're supposed to be doing. And so it's really, once you start seeing them, and they say rumor, and I'm starting to believe this, once you see one, you tend to start having more encounters, whether it's because you've opened up your eyes a little bit and you're looking for Bigfoot there to actually be there instead of the first time when you got them just totally dismissed. And so I think that's something right there that they actually that actually happens. So, but seeing a Bigfoot is not something that you're going to take for granted. It's not something that you're ever going to forget. With what they have with what we call the infrasound, some of the characteristics they have as far as I'm not going to say intimidating people, but for taking care of themselves. Man, when that right there happens, and you want to run and you can't move. I mean, you want to run. You want to run as fast as you've ever run in your life, and you cannot move. Or all of a sudden you're standing there, and like I said, you lose control of your bladder functions, your kidney functions, something like that. Or you realize you haven't cried since you was a baby, and then you wipe your face later on after you've seen this Bigfoot, and man, you just had just streams of tears down your face.
Yeah.
You're doing the hyperventilating thing. You realize what an effect it's had on it. I've seen people there that did not believe. I know 3 people that I went to high school with, and of course, they believed what I said because whenever I told people back then, they said, "Well, Will, don't know. He's a woods rat all his life." But when they finally got to see one, man, the way it changed their life. One lady and her husband, man, he made fun of her. Boy, let me tell you what, she got up out of that car. She said, "Okay, mister, you come over here and drive," because they were on their way back from Shreveport, which is Highway 71 there. And so they stopped on the side of the road. Well, man, she sat there and she just slid on over in the seat. Well, he had to walk out of the car. All of a sudden, he realizes he's there where he knew her character. He just kind of hard to believe. Well, all of a sudden, he's out there outside the car, and there's that Bigfoot that's done crossed the road in front of them. And he realizes, man, I better get over here and get this car and get gone quick as I can. So to see that, the way, whenever they told me that story, the way they reacted was very, very interesting because you knew they weren't lying. And of course, he knew too. He knew his wife's character, but it's something you can't necessarily.
Well, I have to say, I went to your location where you research.
Yep.
And if anybody has any doubt about anything you say, I witnessed it, people. And Will Lunsford is the real deal. He is not a BSer. Like, I witnessed it, and I can attest to this man's honesty.
And I appreciate you saying, and that's the truth, man. It's not something you want to lie about. I can get in enough trouble with the good Lord without having to make up lies.
Right.
And in point in case, I wasn't even there. I think Krista, didn't you broadcast a show with Will? You guys were all driving around.
We did. We talked about what happened that night.
Yeah,
we seen like red orbs out in the woods. We seen like these Bigfoots going through like the opening. Like it was crazy. Like we were being surrounded. We had juveniles making noises. It was crazy.
And we've had some of the craziest experiences right there. And had Stephen Hill with us, and Stephen's as good a researcher out there as there is as well, And Stephen actually has him living on his property. And he and I were friends for a long time. Then we kind of didn't get separated, but went on with life and had our own families. And all of a sudden we get back together as friends there. And he said, "Was this the same Will, that I played softball with?" Yeah, and so then we started talking about the Bigfoot and Bigfoot encounters. And so he admitted to me, he said, "Man, I've got him on my property." I'm like, "Great." When I met my wife, one thing that made me, I knew I was going to marry her was they had a Bigfoot that was walking across the lady's pasture that lived across the street from them. She had a garden party. She had all the chairs backed up to the pasture. And this thing's walking down there. She's doing the best she can not to let them turn around and see this thing to keep them entertained. Well, sure enough, it steps across a 4-strand barbed wire fence and it walks onto the property that my in-laws are building a house on. And so when I first told them, I knew I had to tell them that I had seen the Fouke monster. That's not something you necessarily want to confess to somebody. But so I was waiting for her dad to say, "Well, son, that's a good story. Go ahead and get all your stuff on the way out and be sure you don't come back." But instead, and that story that I'm telling you there was told to me by my mother-in-law. And my mother-in-law was not prone to exaggerate. She was as truthful as the day is long, And so this thing had actually been on that property. We got to go visit with that lady this year, back in March up there in Mountain Home, Arkansas. And so it was actually her mom, but the young lady who was a twins, and she told us the story of what all her mom had told us. It's the very same thing as what my mother-in-law had told us. And so to get that verified by somebody who's so truthful, they're kind of like I am, man. I don't need any more trouble than what I can already get into by myself. But she told us the same story. And then she told me about one that she's actually got that's possibly down a hill down from her house that comes up there and kind of watches her house every now and then. So is that the same theory that once you've had seen one, then here they come, or someone in your family? We can't really say, but it's a phenomenon that I'm hearing more and more about. So, but really, really a great thing. It's fun to do. It can be scary. Like I said, when I go, I don't just carry a 40 caliber anymore after that doggone Gugway. I carry a 45-70 rifle, and my son actually bought me an elephant gun. I'll take that elephant gun as well. I'm not going to shoot them unless they just really come after. They've come after me and Cindy and Reese one time, my son. They came after me and my dog one time, and that was really scary because my dog was going to protect me, and I was bound determined he wasn't going to kill my dog. You know, so that that puts you in a quandary with what your principles are. I'm a no-kill Bigfooter, but what's he going to do whenever he comes towards your family? Well, then you got to put it on the balances right there. So it's one of those things that it can change your life in one way or another. But gosh, I'm so fortunate. I sent y'all some pictures there of some people that had found their first Bigfoot this year. They found the track there, and whenever they did, they're like, "Oh my gosh, man! 5 hours ago, there was Bigfoot standing right here where I'm standing." They said, "Man, that shakes you to your core." You know, you realize that where you were standing, there was actually a Bigfoot standing, something that's not supposed to exist.
Yeah,
Yeah, go ahead,
I
Rob.
do have a couple of those. Well, I'm going to pull
Yeah.
up one right now here.
I ran that right there. My buddy found that up there. I had talked to him last year at the Louisiana Bigfoot Conference right there, and we had talked about it. And he lives there at Kisatchie National Forest there in Louisiana. Kisatchie is just as, you know, it's just full of Bigfoot. And so, sure enough, he called me the other day there. My wife said, "You got somebody down there that's wanting you to call them." Said there's one of them that you met down there at the Louisiana Bigfoot Show. I said, all right. I said, "You know who it is?" And she told me. I don't want to out this person just in case, but anyway. And so whenever we do, sure enough, I get in touch with him, and he goes, "Man, I've got something to show you." So he sends me this. He's got one of the pictures right here, and you can see that bulbous, giant, big toe, right there. But you see the other toes as well, and
very distinctly.
Oh yeah, that's a great track. He said, "Man, what I do, you know," I told him, "Man, go get you some plaster of Paris, get you some screen, like a window screen, or else get you some sticks, and then weave those in and out of there, kind of like rebar when you do concrete, or else cut a trimming there for the screen and put in there." And I said, "That will hold your plaster of Paris in there, because heck, man, nowadays with the price of plaster of Paris, each track that you cast is going to cost you from $6 to $10. But then what's worse than that, if you screw it up, you've had an event in your life that you've waited all your life to get, and all of a sudden you're not getting out something that you can show somebody as proof." So he was able to get that, man. I was so tickled for him, you know, and glad to see that. And he, if anybody deserves it, he does. And he invited me down to his property. If I get a chance, I'm going to go down there. He's got deer down there too that look like they're wearing rocking chairs strapped to their head, so that might interest me a little bit as well. But
yeah, and here's another one I'm going to pull up too. I don't know. You can talk about this one. I don't know if this was the same person or what, but this is a newer one you sent me.
Yeah. Okay. This is the same person. He's got two of them there that are walking, actually passing each other. It looks like they're about 12 to 13 inch tracks right there. But we got a lot of rain down here in Arkansas and Louisiana and Texas. You can see a pair of sunglasses kind of up there at the top, so you can see about how long, by gauging that, about how long it's going to be.
And and really briefly, I'll be honest with you. I looked at the two below. There's three there. I see that one at the top. The one at the top by the sunglasses. Those are okay. For me personally, I can distinctly make out all the toes.
Yep, every one of them. You can see them, and those appear to be, the 5-toed creatures there, rather than what we have the 3-toed. And then if you look at the heel of that one on the bottom, it kind of looks like you got a baby track heading the other way.
I was about to say that it kind of looked like a baby.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And so he's actually also gotten this same fella has also gotten some I want to say some fingertips or some fingerprints there on his vehicle left down there. Now I know this other friend of mine here, the other show ones will show, he has fingerprints left on his wife's car. I think that was just to scare her or get him in trouble. But when you see those things like that, they do so many things, and there's no way you can deny it. I mean, why in the world would somebody out there in 100 and something degree heat try to find something other like that, and then try to pass it off as a hoax? Folks are just not going to do it. It's not feasible, not from anybody who has a functional brain, that you're going to be out there with snakes and wasps and sweating to death and try to hoax somebody on the one slim chance that they're actually going to walk by the same place and have that track land.
You're either incredibly as a hoaxer naive, or hate to use the word, let's just call them dumb. Right? I mean, and you're not going to get your fame, no fortune, especially half these people are all, you don't know who they are, right? They don't even have shows. But again, people do that. We all have to be aware of that. And it's unfortunate because all it does is set us back, one step forward, 2 steps backward, right? Type of thing. But we all pretty much know when something is genuinely fake and what's genuinely real, right?
Well, that's one reason I want to show these. Those guys were so proud of what they had, and just to show, hey, that were they interested? Yes. Were they actual researchers, like what you would consider me and Stephen or Daniel,
Yes.
who are there in the woods all the time? No, but man, now all of a sudden they're ready to amp things up and get going a little bit, and those were really good tracks. And when you look at that, you can see that that's not something right there that you're easily going to hoax. You to carve it out of wood. I've seen these
Right.
carved feet, and
Yeah.
there's no.
Yeah.
There.
And it's all flat. I mean, come on, you really gotta, it's such a waste of time. And hey, all the energy these people have, put it into something constructive, right? I mean,
Right.
that's what I say.
What I hope that energy goes to is the next time they're out in the woods, that Bigfoot gives them a little bit of chase. And that energy goes for them to run out of the woods and be able to tell us, hey, you'll never believe what happened.
Yeah. But you know what? It's too bad we don't believe you now because of all the antics you pulled in the prior. See, that burned you. Yeah, it happens. Sometimes it does happen.
Hey, that boy that cried wolf, if he cried Bigfoot, it'd be a different story.
know.
I guarantee you. So,
But so you had mentioned earlier about when you see some of these Bigfoot, it's just something that you're mesmerized by. Sometimes some people are in shock. Some people can't believe what they're seeing with their own eyes. And again, for most people, we're looking at things or finding things that aren't supposed to exist. Did you ever have that moment? I know you've had several stories in which own experiences and sightings you've had. Can you draw on one story that particularly, I mean, really got you where you're like, man, this is one hell of a field that I'm into?
well, I tell you what, probably the one there was where I was with my wife and my son on Easter Sunday, 2014. Like I said, Reese he's got one more year of dental school. Cindy, we've been asking her to go, and she wants to go, and I want her to have her own sighting. And so Reese keeps asking her, and so she knew he was going to quit if she didn't finally say yes. So we go down there that night, down there Sulphur River down there, and so we set up, and we have been interacting with one Bigfoot there for about 9 months there, and he had a whole troop of them with him. You could hear them. They get together. We heard them kill a deer one night. Man, that was made you feel so sorry for the deer, And so we were down there that night, and that thing.
I hear the puppies.
That's the queen coming back from going and watching the Indiana Fever basketball game. So now, if they won, she'll be in a good mood. If not, we're going to get to see how it acts whenever No, I'm kidding. But yeah, so we get down there that night, and it's taken forever. Usually you can go and Bigfoot will answer your calls. People don't. It's not like it's people say, oh man, he's down there quacking in the woods. There's no duck that's any self-respecting duck ever can come up. Then you look out there and there's a whole flock filling the sky. It's the same way with Bigfoot. They do answer certain calls. I've had them answer a dog call out there barking. That's when I was a UPS man. I stayed in the truck, 10 to 12 hours every day. So all I had to do was just practice my calls. So I did with that. And so I've had them answer that. We've had them answer the rabbit call. Of course, my favorite is going to be the barred owl call. Now you get a little 8-inch plastic megaphone and holler through that. And man, it just changes the whole dynamic of the voices of what you hear. So we're down there, and finally, after about 45 minutes, I mean, we got nothing. And it was one of them nights that you had the chills when you went in there, so you knew it had the potential. So anyway, I thought to myself, I told Cindy and Reese, well, I've always wanted to try rock clacking, so I'm going to just try this rock clacking. So I got 2 big old rocks from there in the road bed right there. And first I went over to a hollow tree and banged on them a few times, didn't get no kind of answer. And then I started clacking them together. And man, whenever I did, all of a sudden you get this dude, he's just like, ooh, just loud, man. And I told Cindy, I said, there he is. And she goes, well, that sounds like an owl. I said, that owl weighs 200 pounds. That's an owl, And so I knew that we were making contact. So sure enough, he kind of starts walking around. You can hear, they like to sneak up. A lot of times what they want to do, they want to just see what you are. They're not necessarily trying to scare you, but they want to see what you are. So they were out there sneaking around in the woods. And so you could hear them step. Well, every now and then they would step on a stick and, crack one where they did. That was, that was something that got your attention. So I told Cindy, I said, we got one over there that's coming in over there, and he's trying to sneak up on us. So anyway, and like I said, Reese is there. And then he's over there putting out some, coincidentally, this was before Jack Link's beef jerky. He was actually putting out beef jerky sticks. And so he's got setting some of them out there. And so when we're sitting there again, that Bigfoot starts stepping around. I told Cindy, I said, he's trying to sneak up on us. So sure enough, we sit there and wait for a little bit longer. And then he steps on another stick. Boy, everything just goes still. I told him, I said, he's standing right over there. So he goes, you think so? I said, I know so. I said, yeah, he's standing there. And so I waited for a little bit. And then finally he started trying to sneak in again. And so whenever he did, as he was coming in, I decided that for whatever reason, I was going to do a call there, do a whoop call. And so I did the whoop call, which is probably one of the most common things that Bigfoot will do in that they'll answer is whoop, whoop, like that right there. Mm-hmm. And man, so whenever I do, I did a real loud whoop, like what you hear on sometime on the Sierra sounds that one's kind of got the G sound in front of it.
Yep.
Man, all of a sudden those woods come alive and here he comes. He's coming stomping, boy. And I told Cindy, I said, you could smell this. I could smell the smell. They couldn't smell the smell. But I told her, I said, remember I told you we got one come in? She goes, yep. I said, here he comes. And she goes, I don't hear anything. Then all of a sudden she goes, I hear him now. Well, man, let me tell you what, you didn't just have to hear him. You could feel him. That ground was vibrating. And the sounds that were coming through there, it was like you were playing them through a loudspeaker. And he was on his way to come pay us a visit. So I had done picked out a place there between two oak trees that I was not going to let him pass, I thought. But, without shooting. But like I said, I was kind of violating my own principles. I didn't want to have to shoot him. But he just goes right through those oak trees there that I had set up as a boundary. Well, then that's whenever I had my spotlight in my left hand. Like I said, I'll put that spotlight up. And whenever I put that spotlight up in his face, he threw that right arm over his face. And then he turned around and started heading back towards Sulphur River. He goes about probably 10 feet there on all fours. Then he stands up again, starts heading down towards the end of this wildlife maps area. And so he goes and jumps in a tree. And Ree said, man, he's over in a tree. He's in a tree. So I'm sitting there really watching, and she's on high alert now. She's kind of sneaking towards my truck to get in there. And so as we do, when you got your family down there, you're naturally on high alert. And so everything just goes man, it's just quiet as the inside of a tomb. No joke. Cindy goes, you hear that? And I said, no, what? She goes, nothing. Exactly. Nothing. I don't hear anything. So then he again jumps out of the tree. He starts heading towards the end of and then he had a buddy with him I didn't know about. And this one was going, ruh, ruh, as he ran beside. And so she gets in the truck and she sits there and slides into the driver's side. And she goes, and I told y'all this, and this is so funny. She goes, if y'all hear this truck start, y'all better jump in the back because I'm gone. And I said, you mean you're going to leave your husband and only son right here in the woods with a rogue Bigfoot? And that's whenever she says, I'll have more kids. You better listen to me. And so we did. We knew she was scared. Mm-hmm. And it was that's not something that you can just take like, oh, well, he might come in, he might not. You better take it for what it is that could possibly happen. So anyway, she's there in the car. I slide in there beside her, and man, I'm getting an earful, probably 400 to 500 words a minute there. And she's like, what made you think that's such a good idea? I said, because you've been saying you want to see one. Me and Reese want you to see one. Well, what was you going to do if he came out of the woods? I said, I was going to shoot him if I had to, and so we had a big laugh at that. Well, then my wife's sister-in-law calls you. And she goes, hey, sister, what are y'all doing? She goes, oh, we're down here in the Bigfoot woods. And so my sister-in-law or wife's sister-in-law is not a believer. She goes, well, are y'all having any activity? And Cindy goes, oh, yeah. And then for the first time, this sister-in-law made an acknowledgement. She goes, you're going to die. Well, boy, when I got that, I got the look. If looks could kill, I'd be laying on the floor. Well, I was going to die either whether he got me or whether that look got me. But she was serious as she could be. But we had 20 minutes back to Texarkana, and I got a good earful all the way in. But then the next morning, UPS has time off, so I could take it without pay. And so Cindy answered the phone. She goes, you want the day off? And I said, yes, I want the day off. So she said, you going down there? I said, yes, I'm going back down there. She says, can I go? I said, no, you cannot go. So you are the catalyst why things kind of got the way they were, being a female down there, Mm-hmm. And so I went down there. Sure, he was still down there, and I lurched around there a little bit trying to get a good picture of him. And finally, when I got to the last tree between he and I, he had disappeared. And I'm like, ooh, this ain't good. He's fixing to go hunting. So I walked up there to where I told her that he was standing whenever he stopped. And sure enough, right there is exactly to the point wherever I told her, and that's where the track is. And it's about 16 and a half by about 8.5, and it's got all the toes there. I've got a picture there. I think I might have seen it with y'all there one time before, but it's bigger than a 44 Magnum pistol. That's what Clint Eastwood used to shoot.
Right.
I mean, yeah, and he's 3 inches into the ground. with what he weighs. And I'm at that time about 280 pounds. And man, you can't even see that I've got shoes on. And so I find where the thing had flooded years ago, and I found a size 11 half men's shoe, and it was so much longer than that man's shoe down there. And so anyway, I took that and came back, and I wanted to cast it. Like I said, sometimes you can make a cast and you screw things up. If you're not a good caster, you can screw it up more than what you can do by having. So again, I sit there and I took several good pictures with my phone and still have them as mementos, and they just as clear as a bell, kind of like that Gugway photograph is. But that's the one that sticks out in my mind. That, and when the one got after me and my dog. And that was going to be scary too, because he wasn't going to get to kill my dog. And that was just
well, I have to tell you that, and I have to tell everybody that's watching, I really truly hope you do bring that Gugway picture with you next week to the conference. Because as soon as you showed it to Brandy and I, Brandy, that's the first thing she said was Gugway. I mean, you don't even have to look for it. It is as obvious as can be. And Rob, you've seen the picture.
I've seen it too. I was about to say, of all the Bigfoot pictures I've seen, and dog man, that was not a Bigfoot. It was not a dog man. It was menacing looking and like something I'd never seen.
100%.
Totally distinctive.
A Gugway.
Why do you think, these Gugway, I mean, okay, Bigfoot's elusive. I mean, it's probably the most seen cryptid, and probably Dogman is maybe second, but it's kind of rare as well.
That's right.
Why do you think the Gugway, though, is hardly anybody ever sees these things?
Well, I think too, they're like the other ones. They're secretive. I think they may live in kind of a thicker habitat territory with their demeanor that they have so mean. I think they probably realize they have to do that in order to get to eat, because when they tear something up, it's going to be like a fight between Mike Tyson and Muhammad Ali. There's not going to be very, very much left right there.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't the Gugway, that's simply, if you came across that, there's a good chance he will try to unalive you?
Yeah, no doubt about it. They will try to unalive you. And that's that's the way they do things. And nature is a cruel mistress. It's that way for a lot of the animals. When they meet, it's not good for a lot of the animals. But the Gugway's he's got a different disposition. He's got a snout. He's got canine teeth. He doesn't. Bigfoot. I've sent y'all pictures. Bigfoot has got sugar cube square teeth. And but the Gugway has got teeth that are canines, and they're sharp and pointed, and he can do enough damage. And then he's also got claws, and they can take one swipe at them claws and basically go through your neck and actually unlock you there. So the Gugway's a mean son of a gun, man. And I think another reason is because he's just so bad. Very few things except Bigfoot can actually take him out if it was need to be.
That's true. And another thing too, I think that if somebody does run across one, and Will, by the grace of God, you're still here to talk about it, because I think a lot of people, meet their maker when they come across one of these. But another thing is, if they do make it through, a lot of people, I would think, might misidentify them as dogmen too.
That's right. And it is, because there's a difference, and like I said, Dogman gets credit for a lot of things that Gugway does, and but Gugway's a bad dude. If he grew as big as Bigfoot, and I don't know that he really does. I learned more of mine, from Duke, and then from this friend of mine who's a Native American about their characteristics and stuff. But this man, he rather. There used to be an old commercial for a cigarette called Terratin. It said they'd rather fight than switch. Well, that's the same way with Gugway. They'd rather fight you and try to take you down than try to cohabit with you. And so, it's a scary. You can look at Bigfoot, and like I said, I heard one lady up here in a little town called Ogden, not too far from Texarkana, and she works up there for the mayor's office. But she saw one, and she told me, she said, "I had such a feeling of peace." I said, "Girl, you had something I didn't have." Because I didn't have no feeling of peace. And when you see that the Gugway, or even the Dogman, the one me and Stephen got, it's leading 3 Bigfoot up the hill there, and they're right behind him. And then on the side, he's got a mama, and she's got a juvenile Bigfoot, and she's pushing him down the edge of the pine plantation, trying to get him away there. But you see this dude right there. Yeah, yes, Rags. It has a muzzle like a baboon. Exactly.
Absolutely.
And we also have up there, I think I might have showed y'all too, Chris, that the one we have called the devil monkey that has a muzzle like a baboon.
You did. You showed me a lot of pictures that night. We went through your phone, if I remember
Like a
correctly.
mandrill, man. I've been real lucky. I
Yeah.
mean, too, you either got to be crazy or lucky, and a little bit of both.
A little
But I
of
get
both.
pictures, yeah. And of course, I do a lot of game cam photography, and one of the benefits of that is, like right now, when I'm sitting here talking to you, Rob and Chris, I've got 10 cameras out there in the woods, still doing some hunting for me. And boy, this year at Christmas time, these things down here, I'm almost positive, me and Stephen both, that they're having their babies right there at the end of November or at December, because I was having Bigfoot walk by my camera with babies every single night. And that's the honest truth. I mean, it's just, and you're like, oh my gosh, and I think they might have had them a little bit early, just with the way the weather was or where the food is. But so they have them. And so if you get down there and we don't know how long the gestation period is yet. But on that right there, you can, if I ever do find out, and they kind of put in the peripheral order there, that what you have there, you can kind of put the two together, hopefully. And so that's kind of what we want to do. We don't just go out there, just sometimes we go out there just see what we can see, but we actually have a purpose to the research. There's a lot that we want to know, and I think the more you know, the better prepared you are. The better prepared you are, the better your chances are of having another encounter. So, and of surviving.
I think you're right. You bring up a good point. The more you know, the better prepared you are. And I got to ask you, in a little about 10 minutes ago, you made the whoop sound, which you did it so well, by the way.
I appreciate that. I've heard them a lot. Once you hear them,
now the whoop, we don't know what that means, like in the English language, right. I guess. But let me ask you, what do you think about these people? I don't think I would do this myself. If they get all these alleged Bigfoot sounds or calls, some could be the Sierra sounds, some could be what somebody recorded out in the woods like yourself, and they blare them on these amplified systems into the woods. My thing is this, okay, do you know what it's saying? You don't know if it's a mating call. You don't know if it's a war song. I mean, you just don't know what you're doing sometimes. And don't you think that's kind of something that we should refrain from if we don't know what the hell these things are saying?
Man, I certainly do, because that night that I did that whoop call when Cindy Reese was down there, I didn't have any idea what I said, but whatever I said, evidently it was enough to either make him mad or else I was giving him an invitation. I sure don't want to be making the love call.
Yeah, you don't want the love call.
No, don't want to do it.
Nope.
But you don't know what you're saying, and so that's one.
Really quickly, that'd be a great topic for Donnie Show says stuff, mate, and we'll leave it at that.
Well, exactly right.
But yeah, with the mating sound, or maybe a threatening one as well, which would be equally as dangerous.
I've made a threatening sound. I'd do one there. If I had it, I would do it right now. I just get a regular paper roll from inside a roll of paper towels, or else even from toilet paper, and say I can go out into the woods and put it up there and just like that right there. But it carries so well through those woods, and whenever it does, if he's in there, you're gonna know it real quick, and then they're gonna tend to hang around. They're going to try to intimidate you, and if you make that sound again, it's not necessarily something that could end up good for you. But there's a lot, but it's fun because they do respond to calls. People say, oh well, it's like finding Bigfoot. They're out there screaming, all that stuff. Folks, that does work. It's not.
It absolutely does, because that night that we were down there in your hotspot, you did a few calls, and that night we were surrounded.
We were surrounded. There's no doubt about it.
No doubt about it.
They were listening, and we even had the baby that they had evidently left there in the woods, that was in there whooping, and then too, anytime you have a juvenile in there, or even of a full-fledged baby like that, your chances of something bad is happening has really intensified. Even if the baby misinterprets it and gets scared and hollers out in Bigfoot language, mama, well, man, first thing mama's fixing to go do is look and check on you, kind of like what the female bears do. So
and then all at once they just went away. Do you remember that?
Yep, I do. And they just and all of a sudden, and man, all the lights that we had and all the lightning bugs, but all the animals intensified right there through, I think, with the Bigfoot being around there like that. And
It was an incredible night, a very incredible experience, one that I will never forget.
You know, like I
yeah.
said, seeing those red orbs, we need to get old Rob down there, man. It's
Absolutely.
Yes.
Cool, Rob.
A couple things I want to do, Will, is visit you probably more than once. I like to do a bass fishing trip in your
do
place
that too.
and look for some Bigfoot. And because I got to tell you, I was so impressed. It was so cool that Kristen and Brandy had that show and you captured a lot of the stuff on a live show. Go check out the Blondes and the Booze. I don't know which one it is. That was so sweet. That was awesome.
Mhm.
Really briefly, I want to thank Andrew for your awesome super sticker, super chat. Super chats are open. Great way to support the show. Not expected, always appreciated. Don't forget to hit that like button. Hit the like. If you're brand new here, subscribe to Bigfoot Mr. Rob on YouTube and Krista the Blondes and the Booze Paranormal Podcast on YouTube. And, Will, really briefly, you've written 2 books. Now, we've talked about your book several times on the show. The first one was Searching for the Unfindable, Bigfoot, correct? And then there was another Searching for the Unfindable. We talked about that before. And your second book, you got a second book. I like to brush on a little bit.
Yeah.
A Bigfoot Searching for the Unfindable.
Right.
Finding the Impossible by William Lunsford. I kind of dig that. Where'd you get that image?
Well, man, that image right there is actually a Bigfoot about 3 feet standing in front of my camera there one night. I mean, you can see the pupils of the eyes.
Yeah,
right
you can.
Absolutely.
And whenever it came in on my camera, it was a kind of a reddish yellow hue. It wasn't quite that red, but whenever I went to filtering it, all of a sudden that popped up. I'm like, oh my gosh, it scared me. And you can see there also between those eyes and just about an inch down, there's actually 2 nostrils, and a lot of those,
I could actually see where that was going with the picture.
Yeah.
I like the way you set that up, though. It doesn't quite show everything, but just enough where if I saw the cover of this book, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to pick this one up and buy it.
I'm going to say that's a dirty trick on my part, but it was a deal to get people's attention. But like I said, to know the background, that's actually a Bigfoot right there standing in front of my doggone. Last year I sent you some pictures where they got the eyes there, looking at, but this one right here, searching there, those eyes and right there, and then Finding the Impossible. That was a name again that Duke suggested to me. We all 3 were trying to find something and trying to get through, and the way that came about was, we can go down there to that area like we all did down there in Mine Stevens area, and you can expect to have something. It's not just, oh, well, it might happen. You can expect it. It's going to happen.
It's not a little something. I'm telling you, like, that's a night I will never forget. That was one of the most active nights out in the woods I've ever had.
And we're down there around 3 rivers down there. Of course, everybody knows how much Bigfoot sightings, in waterways, of course.
Yeah.
And that place is just, man, it's just amazing. And it's so black. It's 12 solid miles there without any kind of artificial light, except for in the middle, there's one ranger station. If the lights are working, somebody hadn't gone there and shot them out. So other than that, it's just plain old black. But that's how I got that right there. And then, like I said, Searching for the Unfindable, search for the Arkansas Bigfoot. My quest for the Arkansas Bigfoot.
Right.
And found him, or he found me, let's put it that way. But then this other one, like I said, because me and Steven can go out there, truly, folks, I'm not lying to you. We can go out there and count on having some kind of encounter. And they do recognize us. I promise you they do. I believe that because the number of juveniles and babies that we get to see, I showed y'all the little casted track I've got. As far as I know, it's just the smallest ever. It's 3 3/4 inches. The heel is maybe not even probably 3/8 of an inch wide. I mean, just very, very small. And then we got the picture of the mama that's got him picked up and then carried, off there on her shoulder. But to have something like that, and you can expect that. It's not that Cindy went out there. Like I said, she takes that one picture. Me and Daniel go out there 2 years ago, Daniel's first trip down there. And we're hearing them walking around. We're not seeing them. But anyway, I told Daniel about what I told Cindy. I said, just take you some grid pictures. So we start taking grid pictures. So let's see what you got. All of a sudden, he opens it up. And there's a Bigfoot over about 65 yards away. I go back 2 days later, and it's 10.5 foot tall. And it's got a little baby on its neck, and it's got a hand on the chest that you can see. And he said, man, what are we going to do? I said, we're going to sit here and lay low and hope that she's in a good mood. Well, we kind of start sneaking through the brush and go. We don't go 200 yards. We cross a road, and there's a big, beautiful brown-coated female walking across this kind of like a tundra there. And so I see something moving there about her waistline, and I was wanting to get the actual video. I don't have any good videos like that of a Bigfoot walk. I mean, where you can see that I can send it there and everybody will finally shut up and say, well, I guess they're real, because, you take a lot of this abuse all your life, for this right here. But you want to do it just to show them, hey, these things, you don't have to try to kill them or anything, but they are real. They're beautiful. This one had a coat, man. She could have wore to a Princess Diana's ball because it was just beautiful. And then she's got that baby. And so I told Daniel, I said, and I had a party to go to that night. I said, I'm going to just have to go ahead and take this still picture. So I take the still picture. And then when we go home, blow it up. And then there's the baby's eyes and face right there below mama's, And so Daniel, he's got that lucky star in his pocket, And so we left. So I went back the next day to try to after that one, from where that one was in the tree. And I say it was the next day. Well, the next time I went, it was that day or the next day. I think it was actually 2 days because it actually rained that next day. But I went down there, and sure enough, man, the Bigfoot is gone. I got a picture of the tree. There's nothing there. But then I was going down the road. There was a troop of about 7 on the left-hand side of brown ones. And I said, and she was brown. Now, the ones over there, the first ones I saw there were all black-coated Bigfoot. And I tend to put things in what's called the almost file, or sometimes I'll put them in archives if I want to try to filter them up later. Well, sure enough, there's 7 baby brown Bigfoot right there. I'll send y'all and Duke that next picture. Oh, Duke, a daggum podcast. I'm going to send them to him too. I'll send them to y'all. And to see that you got, oh yeah, man, this is this picture. I pulled it out the other day from my archives. I'm like, gosh, man, I forgot about this thing being, it's just the coolest thing in the world. Because you got brown Bigfoot standing on the side of the road, and you're 30, 35 feet away on these. It's like a county road. It's just got rocks to it, and it's just a road bed, and you're going through a bunch of woods. And I think that's what makes it such a great area. We call it, ground zero, and it's.
I have a quick question for you, Will.
Sure.
So, you see a lot of pictures out there with red circles around them, and I've seen your pictures, and you don't even need circles. Like, I can see it plain as day in your pictures. Why do you think that they allow you to get such great pictures of them?
Well, this area right here, like I said, they do recognize me and Steven, but we've been going up there now for about 6 years. But man, when we get out there, we're not just sitting there in the car, or anything like that.
Right.
We're actually walking through the woods. We're right there. There's no telling how many times we walk by them and they're standing right there and they see us walking by. My favorite thing, I don't wear camouflage when we go out into the woods. I wear a chartreuse shirt, which is that daggum fluorescent yellowish green color. I wear a gray and fluorescent orange hat. And then I wear a pair of blue jeans. And that's it. Stephen generally wears a chartreuse shirt the same way, just because that's his favorite, most comfortable shirt. But so there's no way we can hide from them.
Yeah.
I think they realize we're not trying to hide from them, because that's not normal behavior for a human. Like I said, the deer hunters, boy, they're out there, they're camouflaged, they're up in a tree, but with the Bigfoot, so I think they recognize and trust what we're doing. And that sounds silly, folks, but it's not. It's these things do. They know we're there, know who we are.
I believe that. I believe that.
I believe that too. And Krista, once again, stole part of the question I was going to ask you. She always seems to read my mind. We like-minded, I guess, in that sense. But I think it makes a lot of sense, because if you're out there, if you're in the same couple areas, research areas, you've been there 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, and they get familiar with you, and they know that you're not a threat, you're just there to hang out and make research, or just be with them and study them, or whatever they think you're doing, they become a little, they don't let down their guard, but they're a little more, they're still standoffish, but they're not afraid to kind of give you a little bit of what you want.
That's right.
Versus a person that is just, I bet they can tell, they can read your mind, I think, in a way. Just a person not really interested, wants that $1 million picture or video. And maybe some of the guys, they go out there all rough and tough with their weapons, right? And they got the intention, if they see one, they're just going to shoot it. You know what I mean? Those people probably aren't going to come across. They're not going to find a Bigfoot. No.
They put out that arrogant aura, like, I've got this thing, and when they see one, they're going to cry like a baby. It's not all this big talk you hear. We hear it in the South. Look at all our daggum road signs here in the South. What have they got right in the middle of the deal? It's been used as target practice, from some of the people on the way, to deer hunting. But when you see those things, and they realize you're not trying to to pull the wool over their eyes or anything. You're just out there doing what you do. I think they recognize the honesty. They're like deer and dogs, man. I was a UPS man 35 years. Dogs know what your intentions are. And during that time, the only time I got bit was on the first day that I went out, because my boss had been out the day before and had tantalized his dog. So when I got out of the doggone truck that day, the first thing he did was latch on to me good. But then I didn't ever get bit anymore after that. But deer, they recognize your intention. And folks, that's not giving them any kind of credentials that they don't have, because they do recognize you. And it's the same way. And it's like people. I can look at my wife, and if I see hands on the hips, eyebrows furrowed a little bit, I know I've done something. She don't have to say a word. And so, but we do, but they recognize that. And so it sounds silly, but it's not. And once you get out there and start getting amongst the Bigfoot there, you'll realize that, hey man, these dudes, they're a whole lot more forgiving. A lot of times, people say, oh, well, he chased me. Well, what he chased you sometimes for was because he didn't want things to escalate. So he scared you. They can catch you anytime they want to if they do. Whatever it is, they can. And it's not going to end good for you. But they tend to just kind of go on about their happy way. And, boy, that's something that I'm happy about right there.
Yeah, it's more like our nonverbal communication and what we're thinking in our mind is so much more influence when you're out in the woods.
It is, and then, like I said, I don't have the gift of mind speak or anything else like that.
Right.
But I have a lot of knowledge about the habits of creatures, animals, humans, and you kind of develop some of that. And when you see it, I've had times there when I'm out in the woods, and man, all of a sudden I'll get it burning in my neck, kind of shake my head, and I'm like, there's a Bigfoot staring at me, and I turn around and I'll turn in the exact direction, man. And sure enough, he's over there, 50 or 60 yards away, just staring me down, and I don't know how that happens, but it tends to be that, I always tend to turn the right way. But Bigfoot does, they recognize this. I think the similarities we have in build, as far as we got the heads, the arms and things like that. The females, they recognize that, but you females have got the softer voices. You got a different disposition. You're not out there trying to tough somebody out, by posing or anything like that. So that's another reason I think that women are more successful as Bigfoot hunters, and children. Children, they love kids, man. I can give you story after story of, especially down here at Fouke, where the kids were down there in Bigfoot, were out there standing in the woods watching them have birthday parties, or things like that right there. So it's a very, very rewarding subject so far. So I can't hardly see all the chat, but guys, thank y'all for what you are putting in here. I appreciate y'all. I don't take it in any way at all for granted here. Sometimes my chat will come up here and sometimes it won't, but I do appreciate y'all and want to say that now that I can kind of see a few of them, because
you have a lot of great comments, almost 100 people in the chat room. You're getting a lot of positive feedback. They love you, Will.
It just came, my computer's acting ugly, but it's kind of coming in and out there. But man, I enjoy doing this. Y'all got a great group of followers. Y'all got some knowledgeable people that follow you as well. A lot of that has to do with the knowledge y'all brought to them, and some of the great guests that you brought out there.
Thank you so much. And yet I will say, and people can say this, everybody has a podcast kind of says this, but the people in the chat room, and by the way, not just the people that are in chat every time we do a show, but even the people that don't participate and they watch. They watch the replay, or they are watching right now, just not in chat. They're all pretty knowledgeable, and they're very supportive of the guests. And they ask great questions. And what they do is a gathering room for them. And a lot of them hang out. They become friends, and they chit-chat it up and watch the show. So it's just a great group of people, which is why I'm looking so forward, along with you, Will.
Yes, sir.
Getting you down here to our conference and all our people that follow us, because that's what I look forward most, is to meeting you guests, the speakers, and all the lovely people in the chat room. Thank you so much.
That's one thing you're going to enjoy about Cindy. That's what she did this weekend when we were up there at Conway, Arkansas, with the Arkansas Festival. She has got a lot of I just sent her. She wants me to send her to send her the originals rather than just try to have them size formatted. And so she'll have them there, and then she can blow them up. You can't do it like when you send them to you guys there. It's just that's the size image is what you got, but she'll take them and she'll blow them up. And then people were just blown away this weekend by, I thought, oh man, gosh, I say it looks almost like he's moving. Yeah. So she's very, very good at that. So if y'all, when we're there, man, please stop and talk. And like I said, and I'll be glad to show you these pictures of what we've got. I've got a little tablet up there that I think we may can get some of them into a slideshow there that may even be clearer than this stuff. But yeah, so she's a crackerjack with doing that right there, and took a long time to make a believer out of her, but I think I finally have. She's not going to admit it to you.
Yeah.
Because she doesn't want to people think she's silly. That's not something easy to believe in. Something that's 9 to 10 foot tall, covered in hair, and almost built the same way with a different kind of heads. But it's something there that's actually out there. And she it took me 33 years to convince my father-in-law. So like I said, and all they're asking for, they're demanding the same evidence that we've gotten. So I'm not grudging that to them in any way, shape, form, or fashion. But police do come with their, like I said, and come look me up. I'll talk your ear off if they want to talk all night long, and y'all know I will too. Man,
you are the best, man.
I will sit there and I will tell them the stories that they want to hear. I'll show them the pictures, because this is something here that's just so cool, and I want everybody to experience it. Not just for what I have, but to experience it. And I'll just say, oh gosh, man, this guy was right. He actually had real pictures. They're the ones that everybody on TV says that there's no such thing. Well, there is. And boy, Stephen Hill, like I said, Stephen is good with getting pictures as well. And so we're going to have some stuff there that hopefully is going to really not impress people, but will make an impression. There's a difference between trying to impress somebody and to make an impression. And I want these to make an impression on somebody with just how real Bigfoot is.
I always kid with Krista. Yeah, we're having Will on tonight, or vice versa. Yeah, our job tonight is easy. We don't really have to say too much.
Right? We
But
don't have to talk much.
nobody wants to hear from me or Krista. They want to hear from Will Lunsford and all our other great guests. But no, and when I say that, of course, I mean that, because you have great stories and information. You have great experiences. And I got to ask you, since I saw you involved with the paranormal kind of right around the time I met the girls, Blaz and Booze.
Yep.
We all come up with these other theories now, and I like to ask this and get your thoughts on this. Again, you first of all, when you see a Bigfoot, you personally, you've had so many different experiences. How did some people, though, like a novice, or how do we even know sometimes if maybe we're not looking at a Bigfoot, maybe something more? Now, I do think that Bigfoot is a flesh and blood creature, but I do think, Will, and I think we've talked about this before, it's got some paranormal to it, right? It's a little supernatural. I think it can do things that a flesh and blood creature just can't do. But how do you know sometimes? I know you probably believe in ghosts and the paranormal.
Oh, I do, no doubt about it.
Okay. How do you know sometimes if maybe we're not getting tricked into what appears to be a Bigfoot in our mind is something else? Have you ever come across and got that uneasy feeling where this Bigfoot that I'm looking at is not quite right like the other ones I used to see?
Yep. I have right there, and me and Stephen have got some pictures there. Some look like they may have had accidents, may have gotten hit by hunters or by trucks. Okay. There's something about them that's just not right, and the way that they, the way they act is just not right, and you can tell that. Like I said, I believe in the spiritual impact that we have there. We're spiritual beings, and Bigfoot could possibly be the same way. But like I said, it may be me that I just don't have the knowledge to be a receptor to be able to tell you what they're thinking, like some people may have, because even though I can't, I'm not going to say that they can't do it for sure. But I'll tell you what, these guys right there, when they're sitting there, the first thing I look for in the woods there, I was color. There's several colors you can see. Of course, none of them is etched in stone, but you're going to have black. You're going to have a mixture of any of these colors. You're going to have something like a rust, or something like pine needles. There's blonde. There's a lot of blonde Bigfoot. Matter of fact, we need to get blondes and Booze and Bigfoot and add that to your title right there and get a blonde picture of blonde Bigfoot. Yeah. But there's actually white ones. We have some down here. You'll see in my book there. There's ones called Skeletors. I've told y'all about that. And they've got the head like a doggone skeleton, but they're white. And I actually put a picture of Skeletor there, and I can't remember, maybe in chapter 5 or something like that, but you'll see it. And the head looks just like a doggone skeleton. And but you'll look at those right there as the colors. Try to look at the colors gray. You'll look at the gray. Look, when you're in the woods, most of the colors you're going to see, as a rule, are going to be your blacks, your browns, your greens. Bigfoot can actually. I've got a picture there in the new book that I've got coming up there. There's a baby Bigfoot, and it's white, and you can see it. And sit next to it is one that's got the same facial structure like what you have there on my cover right there. But this Bigfoot has actually got a greenish fungus kind of tint to its fur. Now, I don't know if that's from the, being out in the woods or something other like that, and the moisture that sits in there. But you can, and then you can see in front there, the hands are interlocked in front, and there's some big long brown fingers right there. But as a rule, you don't see that green very often. But if you can if you see something in one of those colors right there, and don't always look 10 foot tall, because Bigfoot will go up there and they'll lay on the ground right in front of you. Y'all seen that picture I've got there of him in front of my dog on camera, and he's got that Snickers bar in his right hand, but he's crawled up there basically, on his elbows, and he wasn't going to pass that Snickers bar up. But so, like I said, but look for the color first. Like I said, listen in the woods there. A lot of times, rarely are you ever in the woods whenever there's not some kind of noise going on. If there's not any noise going on, chances are pretty good there's something out there that even the bugs maybe are not comfortable with. So you want to listen for that right there. You want to, again, listen for any kind of popping or anything else like that, like limbs snapping or something like that. A lot of times you can hear a Bigfoot and you can hear them actually sigh like that, and you can hear that, and you think, oh gosh, man, that's nothing. No, it's not nothing. They're in a way, they're very similar to people. So look for those things right there. First, get you some. I carry some yellow glasses with me, and yellow glasses gathers light. The lenses gather light. It will help you to get in there to see in some of these shadows when you put them on, and you'll be able to see some things. And like I said, you don't want to look. Most everything in the woods is either up and down. It's in a straight line. When you see something that's bent, as far as that goes, or in a circle, or that's crossways, there, pretty good chances that's something that is abnormal. And so sit there and carry some good field glasses if you can, and start staring that stuff down. They like the show with Mel Gibson, aim small, hit small, or whatever it was he said there. But if you look at these targets that you see and you're looking at something, try to sit there and figure it out. And then whenever you do, like I said, all of a sudden you'll see that nose, or you'll see that thing will blink. Like I said, you'll see an ear twitch. Bigfoot does have ears, but they're not always, you can't always see them, but you'll see some kind of movement right there. And then you're like, oh man, that thing moved. And so when you do that, and then that will be a way that you can see that you've got Bigfoot around you. Again, look for other animals that have been unalived by other things right there. Bigfoot is a notorious scavenger. So there's times instead of, looking for their food, they'll be gatherers for what's already in the woods like that. Why would you try to run down a deer when there's one already laying there, And so look at stuff like that right there. And then that will kind of help you to start having some Bigfoot sightings. It kind of clues you in. Again, especially if you're anywhere around water, Bigfoot and water go together. Up there in my area, they're the one that we took Kristen and Brandy to. There's 3 rivers on that one area right there. That's incredible. 3 rivers, good sized rivers right there. And why? Because it's like the Deckham Savannah over there in Africa. They've got water. They've got the other animals got to have water, so they're going to come in. So that's someplace good to look in like that right there. So that's one of the ways that you do. Just kind of realize you're in the right area, and then we don't always, when we go to the woods, we don't always go out there and all of a sudden just start hollering or knocking on woods. When you go in there, give yourself a chance. Give the woods a chance to acclimate themselves to you, and they'll come up to you. They are just dog inquisitive, boy.
Yeah, I wouldn't suggest as soon as you'll pull up on your trail and walk up the trail a piece, I wouldn't recommend pulling out a baseball bat, beating the hell out of a tree. Right?
Nope. If it takes it as aggression is another thing, but then like I said, you just said, oh well, this ain't normal behavior from a human. We're just going to hide right here and let him walk on by.
Yeah.
So that's something there that you see. But some of these things that we've seen there, some of these other people do that don't make sense to us. Please don't think that because you've never experienced it that other people haven't experienced it, because they have. Now, whether they can talk all night like I can and expound it to you that way is another story. But that doesn't mean they're lying to you. And just if you didn't see it, we'll just say, well, man, I hope maybe next time they can expound more to me about what it's happened. But don't think they're not telling you the truth, because when I was hearing about Bigfoot, I did not believe. I just thought there's just no way. Like I said, I was raised in a Christian family, and my family didn't want me believing in monsters and ghosts and everything else for my own benefit. But I learned real quick that they're there, and I'll have some good ghost stories there at the Crossing Realms Festival too. There, I used to work at a haunted restaurant. Man, I had some things happen to me in there, boy, that were
Well, you got to come over to the Ray County Museum and ghost hunt with us, aren't you, Saturday night?
I'm going to certainly try unless we have something going on here. Cindy's got some things going on here. She has to take care of her dad. So in doing that right there, that will be probably one of the only deterrents to us getting to do that if we have to come back in. I'm so looking forward to this. Y'all got a great thing planned, man. I mean, really, I'm very, very excited. Bigfoot using trees as portals. And like I said, I've had some people around me that they have said that Keith Crabtree's got a picture of something that looks like, from what people have described to me, as being a portal. I haven't, like I said, experienced that myself, and it may just be on my limited ability. But then some other people have. They said, man, all of a sudden it wasn't there, and it was there. I started seeing something that I hate to use the word materialize because it was already there, but until our eyes got to where we could focus on it and bring it into what it was, something that we could recognize as being different. So like I said, because of that, and it may be that I'm just a good old dumb Southern boy, and they're like, man, we don't have to show all this special stuff we've got. We're just go up there and just scare him to death, and he'll run back to his truck. But,
I wanted to ask you this because it seems like, and you're a great person to ask. I've never asked you this. And it just dawned on me that I've noticed that whether it's on this show or the Krista show or whomever, it doesn't matter. If you're watching a Bigfoot program, right? It seems like 9 out of 10 times when someone's telling about their encounter, they'll say, and all of a sudden the forest got quiet. You couldn't hear a drop. You couldn't hear a sound. Couldn't hear a chirp of a bird, chirp of a chipmunk or a squirrel. And I get that. But that's not always the case, is it? I mean, with your experiences, has the woods gotten deathly quiet? And at the same time, have you actually seen these things when there was other noise going on?
Yes, I have, and I think one reason that I think the times the way our attention span is, sometimes we're focused in on something, and they're actually coming in, and we're not paying as much attention. That we have them at nighttime when we go down where I took y'all down there, Chris and all. When they start coming in, I mean, it's like I said, you're gonna hear them tiptoeing. And you'd think, golly, what's that 800-pound animal doing or trying to tiptoe up on me? But they can't. But you're not paying attention, so you didn't catch it. But then, like I said, then all of a sudden your focus changes, or you've got something that changed your focus in, and then you become more in tune with what's happened out there, and you realize, hey, this wasn't maybe not all of a sudden at all, but
yeah,
but it's something that does happen.
Well, the thing down there that night, that we all encountered, like, it was just all at once. They were surrounding us. Like, they were not trying to be quiet at all. They were making themselves known to us.
They were making themselves known to us, and they want us, like I said, like, hey, who's the cream of the crop? I am, so let's get that straight. Whenever the rest of this night will go just fine for y'all, and, but that was so cool that y'all got to experience it. Me and Steven, we're very lucky. Like I said, we live in an area that's got a lot, and we get to experience that quite a lot.
Yeah,
and,
boy,
oh yeah, man, and you do, and like I said, to have so many of the different sizes, and we do have the different, different colors. And like I said, we've got Gugway, we've got Dogman, and as much as I don't like to talk about that Gugway and stuff, but when you get down there and you get kind of used to it, man, the way things tend to fall out and fold themselves out, and then all of a sudden you're right in the middle of this happening. Like you said, all of a sudden here they were, and we just, we sit there and you could see the red orbs as they came through. I mean, it was just
incredible. Really.
Yeah, it was really, man, it was black that night. And in that area right there, we call that the dark woods. And that's the reason we call it the dark woods, because it's dark. But
it was dark.
Yeah, but you ain't got a house there for 12 miles. No kind of artificial light source whatsoever, except the ones that you have there, coming from your flashlight or your cell phone. So.
Yeah, and what was really, really incredible too, if you remember correctly, that night, Brandy just tossed a rock. Do you remember that?
Oh yes, I sure did.
Yeah. That ticked them off.
Oh yeah.
Did they toss it back?
Oh yeah, they're like, hey, if there's me rock tossing, I'll be the one to do it.
Right.
Know your role, stay in your lane.
Yeah.
But it was great, man, to have that right there. And like I said, we get to experience that, quite a bit, and it's I'm not going to say it becomes second nature with us. It's something we always appreciate, but we tend to learn, and we try to. do audio tape on some of the stuff so we can go through, see, hey, was there a precursor to that, or was there some kind of harbinger that we should have picked up on, or that actually caused that? And we'll go through and listen to things like that. And so that's one of the good things that you have right there is have you a recorder there or on your phone. Phones tend to not pick it up as good. The recorders that you can get for $100, they do a pretty good job. But all of a sudden you can hear, like we sit there one time, we were getting Bigfoot just about every time when we were going down to a place called Thornton's Wells down here in Texarkana on Sulphur River. And as soon as we got there, man, the Bigfoot were there, and then they would take off. So one day we decided that we were going to leave some recorders there. And so whenever we did, when we left a little bit and then we came back, and when we came back, as we're on the way in, unbeknownst to us before, because of the gravel bouncing off the undercarriages of our vehicle, we couldn't hear it. But sure enough, as we were walking in, you get the knock from the Bigfoot over there, and they're letting the others know, hey, here comes, Will and Steven, or whatever. So, and then whenever we would leave them there, when we would leave, and then you would get the same thing again. You would get that knock that you didn't know you were getting. And that was the harbinger, the precursor to what was fixing to happen there. So that really opened our eyes a whole lot. I'm like, gosh, man, who would have thought that, but so that's again, something else here that we experienced. It's really, it happens it's very predictable. And I've heard of other people say the same thing as well. They do, as far as do the knocking, they let each other know. I think that's truly what tree knocks are, just a way of communication. Now they may go to smacking on a tree like a lumberjack, up there in the Yukon forest, and that may be, hey, I'm fixing to come get you. But other than that, I think it's built for their own ways of understanding, and telling each other, hey, we got intruder coming in here, be careful, or something like that.
Yeah, I heard something new the other day. We all hear about the familiar tree knocks, and I just heard this. I asked this on some other show, but somebody was telling me sometimes they think a theory of the tree knock is also just the smacking of their lips or their jaws together.
And that could be. They're not always walking through the woods with a stick in their hand. But I've got a tree down here at the place I just told y'all, Thornton's Well, that we found. Me and Reese found about 9 years ago, and man, it's had the dog beat out of the middle of it, and you can see the marks where it's actually disembarked the wood from the middle and everything else like that. But then, like what I did a while ago, that's me popping my tongue off the top of my mouth. And I've had Bigfoot actually respond to that after I've done that, thinking maybe it was a tree knock. But then also, like I said, you can watch some of the videos there, like on National Geographic, and look at, I'm not saying a Bigfoot is an ape, but you look at some of the apes run by the tree, and they'll kick the tree. And whether or not their bones are hollow, or whether they're so dense, and you'll hear that real loud thud in there. It could be that, but it's until we, it's not like they do on Lawrence Webb, put their finger inside their jaw and pop, then the bubbles come out. But they do have a way that I think that they can, maybe intensify that through having their mouths open, and it creating a resonance there, or echoing resonance. It maybe makes it so loud. But I've heard a lot of knocks, and each time you hear one, you're just blown away, because you think, oh, that's just a tree knock. No, there's no such thing as just a tree knock. There's making that tree knock.
I hear you there. And I was thinking too about trees. Do you think, I've never really heard this before, do you think that an actual, we talked about how to look and, just some clues out in the forest when looking for Bigfoot. And I always tell people, hey, look up as well. But do you think that Bigfoot are sometimes up 20, 30 feet up in a big old tree?
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Stephen, we found it about 3 years ago. Stephen actually found it, and we had a series of, quote, roads, unquote, running through the top of the trees. You could see where they were, up there tearing off the bark and things like that. I had another friend down here years ago, and he was pretty much, he wasn't an expert, but he did a lot of, stuff in the woods like we did. One of the most knowledgeable guys I'd ever met until then, right there. And he said he was at the Texas Bigfoot Research Conference there in Jefferson, where I met you that one time. I think it's the one time, Rob, me and Daniel ended up with COVID, and we didn't get to stay and visit with you in Texas. But anyway, he was down there, and so somebody accused him of being a hoaxer. He said, I tell you what, he said, you give me 20 seconds, you come outside and you come out and find me. There was a big old tree out there. He crawled up in that tree only about 3 limbs high, just sitting up there, tucked himself up against the trunk. These people came out and were looking. He let them walk about 20 foot away. He said, hey, you missed me. And they turned around and looked at him. And this guy was about 6'5", 6'6". So he was able to just get in there and tuck himself somewhere where they weren't used to seeing things like that. So I'm with you, Rob. They do get up in the trees like that. I've got me and Steven's daughter had one night that was chasing us or running in there, and you could hear him hit the tree whenever he went to jump, and he went to crawling. And then I've got a picture of him in my new book. You'll see of the 5 fingernail prints that he made as he was climbing up that doggone tree right there. But he was, it's his way of trying to get away. Or a lot of times, I think that's the explanation why people say, "Man, I was just following this Bigfoot trail, and all of a sudden it disappeared." Did they hit the trees? It's a pretty good possibility. It's that's if there are any kind of, most beings in the forest can climb trees or have some kind of association with trees. So that could be what they're doing. I'm not going to say it is so, but I know that what me and Stephen found there at Ground Zero, I said it was almost like a network of ways for it to get around up in the trees and get away from something. So that was really an eye opener to me as well.
Certainly was. And Will, it's just about that time on this show. Every time we get together, 90 minutes flies by like 9 minutes.
Well, I appreciate that, man. I think I appreciate. No, I do. I'm kidding you. Like I said, one thing about Daniel said something about one time. He goes, "Man," he said, "how do you go from one story to another?" Well, after you've been in the woods 48 years,
Yes, see, that's the thing. When you've been doing this as long as you have, and not suggesting you're an old coot or anything like that, but when you've been doing this a long time, well, you get the stories, but what you have is, sure, we all like the good story, the encounter stories, but what you also provide is the back up your research, what you've tried, what's worked, what's failed, and you kind of know their patterns, at least the ones that you're familiar with.
Right.
And they kind of know you. You almost have they're kind of like your forest friends.
Well, that's true, man, and I don't take that lightly. I believe that, Like I said, if y'all will come to the conference there, y'all look me up. I'll show you a picture of me and Daniel there in the woods. I've got on that chartreuse shirt and that gray and orange hat on 2 different occasions, different places, and I've got Bigfoot 10 feet away, standing there looking at me, and then one of them's about 35 feet away, and we're looking at a mom and some babies over on the right hand side. And so they're making a bunch of noise. And so I told Daniel, I said, "Just wait right there and just start taking some pictures." Well, anyway, when we got there, I said, "What we get?" Sits up there, and sure enough, there's a Bigfoot standing up there behind a tree in front of me about 30, 35 yards. I never even saw him. I'm like, good, great. Well, I thought you was a good researcher, good for nothing as far as that goes. But hey, they got to win a few of them too, as far as otherwise, that's what makes it a fun game. So it is. It's just really, really, really a great thing. But dude, y'all come look me up. I'll show y'all those pictures and see just how I've got some there. Everybody you've heard called tree peekers, or tree huggers. I'll show y'all some that it'll blow your mind. All you got is just an eye. You look at the one from the Travel Channel show there that I did there, and that mama with that baby. She's got a baby in the middle of her chest. But every time I would lean out to look at her, she would draw back, and I'm like, "I'm going to get your picture," because she was throwing about a 16-inch piece of wood at me and throwing pine cones. And so I'm sitting there and I'm getting ready to leave. And my sister's birthday, so I have to get to the birthday party. So I've got my camera hidden up here on my shoulder facing backwards. So I walk out right there and start walking like I'm going away right quick. We're not paying any attention. I know she's looking at me because I can truly feel her looking at me. So I just put that camera there and tick right quick. Well, I forgot that I had it in there. About 3 days later, I'm like, "Stupid, you've got a picture you need to go check." And I do. And sure enough, there she is. And that's the picture that they highlighted on the Travel Channel there with that mama standing there and with that baby on her chest. So again, like I said, they win some games, I win some games. But if I get to come home, that's a win. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah. And really quickly, where can we find your books? You have 2 books out. One recently just put out. We just talked about where can we find you on? Just tell us where we can find you.
Well, let's see. The first one, like I said, you can get them on Amazon. You can get them on Lulu Books. Go through there and Amazon Kindle. But my new book I've got, I'm going to try to distribute myself right there. So if y'all will look me up on Facebook right there and say, "Hey, Will, I'd like to have one of these books." It's going to be reasonably priced. Like I said, it's got 40 color pictures in it, and they're good pictures. And that's the reason I went with this one shipping company that I have there, because they'll put color pictures in there. And it brings out the detail and so many more. So just like I said, get in touch with me, William Lunsford, there on Facebook, and say, "Hey, man, can you send me a picture?" And like I said, even on my new book, my price is not going to be exorbitant. You're not going. 2 nickels is good as a dime for me as far as that goes. As far as for selling these books, but I sell them because I want people to know. But then you everything's got its price. You kind of got to that's one of the but do look me up on Facebook for that. And then, like I said, I just got a new order today of 125 new Searching for the Unfindable books that I have right there. My quest for the Arkansas Bigfoot, and then I should have some coming in here. Should have 125 coming in here Monday for Searching for the Unfindable, Find the Impossible.
And of course, you'll have them at the conference.
I will have them at the conference. I will for sure. And folks, I promise you'll enjoy it. I'm actually smarter than I look. You're thinking, oh well, you got.
Well, we couldn't see you today. We couldn't see you today.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. But
you know.
But anyway,
you gotta get Cindy to show you how to work that camera. I know you know how to work the camera. That's weird how you just.
I've never seen that lock button on mine. And I checked it this afternoon and it wasn't there, and I was always.
I bet you it's something simple, Will. You'll figure it out for the next show. And I do have to put in a cheap plug because this is involving William and Krista. I've seen a lot of comments. Oh my gosh, I can't wait. This show is ending. He's got so many cool stories. If you go to my channel or the Blondes and Blues, Will's been on my show at least a dozen times, at least 10 times with Krista and Brandy. So yes, go into the archives. It is free, of course, on YouTube. We've got probably 50 hours logged with you or more, which is awesome.
I appreciate y'all for that. I do, man. You guys have helped me so much to get these stories out there to people, and it means a lot to me. And you guys have a very, very good show. Like I said, you always ask the right questions. I better be on my P's and Q's or y'all are going to trip me up. The only change on my story is just I might use a different word now that I'm 66 years old and getting dementia.
66 years young. And you can still whip some ass, I bet, too.
Guarantee you, it's and I can still fish too. So me and you gonna make that fish.
Yeah, we gotta make that happen for sure. I've never caught me a big old bucket mouth. The biggest I ever caught was like a pound, man. Pound and a half bucket.
I've got them from several from 9 to 13 pounds.
Oh boy, yes.
Just lucky.
Well, I'd like to catch one of those, and really, I want to thank Andrew Truckee for your awesome super chat, and the Canada's Pride, Kelly Sanford, for your awesome super chat as well.
Andrew always does a great job, and all your people do. Thank you, folks, so much, and for supporting
thank you.
Brandy and Rob for what they do, because man, they you don't realize how much work they put into these shows there in the background, and we're having a good time, and we are. But like I said, they really work hard.
Yeah. So. It's a job, but we love doing it. That's why we do what we do today for everybody. And thanks once again, William. With that being said, thanks to everybody. Krista, you're on Thursday night?
I am.
Good. Any special guests or any announcement, or is just you don't
Not
know
yet. Not yet. It's just been one of those weeks. That's
it's one of these months. The month of September, we've been so busy with tying up the conference and other things going on. It's kind of a mumbo jumbo month of September.
Honestly, I have been slacking. So.
Well, we've been so busy, and it's just it's not an excuse, but man, there's all sorts of things going on. Mm-hmm. But with that said, it is what it is. Hit that like button, everybody, on your way out. For Krista and for Will, I'm BMR. We'll see you next time.
Love you guys. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much, brother.
This is the future. Evolution.
The Crossing Realms Conference launches September 19th and 20th and will dock in Richmond, Missouri. This is already being called the event of the year, folks. With an unprecedented list of speakers and special guests, 2 days of cryptids, UFOs, and paranormal presentations, along with a celebrity-filled ghost hunt, meet and greet, gallery reading, vendors, and a film screening. This promises to be both educational and fun. Go to Eventbrite.com to secure your tickets and vendor slots before they are all abducted. They're going fast.